This video is about mushroom foraging, particularly in the Northeast United States. I'm going to be talking mainly about mushroom foraging, but also about mushroom propagation, and I'll also talk about some of the mushrooms that you can find in this area, and also show you some dried specimens that I have. So let's start with the mushroom foraging. Really, you don't need much as far as like gear is concerned for foraging mushrooms. Pretty much all you need is a knife and something to put the mushrooms in. Um, when you collect mushrooms, you have to think they have a lot of moisture, and so you don't want them trapped in a plastic bag where, it's like a little miniature greenhouse effect where it'll just kind of make the mushrooms mushy. So most people, when they go out, they either put them in a basket or a paper bag. Sometimes people put them in old produce containers, like what you'd have like berries or strawberries in, because those have holes in them and it lets the mushrooms breathe. Um, Here's my knife that I take with me. Here's a bag with other things. And again, really, you don't need that much. The one thing I would recommend, though, is having a field guide. And this one is the National Audubon Society Field Guide to North American Mushrooms. I wasn't going to remember that title, so I had to read it. But yeah, this is the holy Bible of mushroom foraging in North America. It's very detailed. You can use other resources if you want. Just don't be an idiot. Don't use like AI to like identify mushrooms. If you do a Google search or use Google Lens, something like that, it's best to have another backup source just to verify what you have. And the internet's full of forums and Facebook pages of people that will help you identify mushrooms also. So anyways, this is my go-to. And I also ask people if I don't know what something is. It's very complicated. Like some mushrooms have like various species, and even like the experts don't know sometimes. And I'm talking about like professional mycologists. It's very complicated. And with new genetic research, things are always changing. And they're always finding out like new things about mushrooms. Like, well, it used to be all right to eat. Now, they're saying some of them like, well, you only want to eat in moderation. Um, but so, anyways, getting on a little bit of a tangent. So, anyways, I have a field guide. I have binoculars. If you're looking for mushrooms from a distance, it's helpful. And let's see what else I have in here. Hold on a second. Yeah, very unprofessional video. I don't think you'll find too many YouTube videos where you just put their phone down. So anyways, spore print paper. That's a way that you can identify mushrooms. You just put the cut cap on the paper and you just let it sit for a while and you see what color of spore print you have. This is potassium hydroxide. It's also used for identification. These two things, the print paper and the potassium hydroxide, I don't use those very often. More or less, it's just like for curiosity's sake. I have a little logbook here for mushrooms that I find. And let's see what else I have in here. Just some bags. Plastic bags aren't ideal, but they're so ubiquitous. I just keep a lot on hand just because I always have them. A lot of times I don't have a basket or a paper bag with me. So that's pretty much it with like foraging gear. Really, all you need is a knife and something to put them in. And it goes without being said, you want to identify the mushrooms, so having a field guide is very handy. Okay, so now on to mushroom propagation. A lot of times you can collect the spores from mushrooms and you can put them in a substrate. Um, a lot of time it a lot of times it's like a compost, or you can make your own out of like I've seen it done with like oatmeal. The mushrooms will actually like feed off of the oatmeal. You want to put like perlite or sand in it too to give it like some substance. You don't want to just like pure nutrients. So, anyways, so for propagating mushrooms, it's important to have everything sterile. Um, you can put the spores in a syringe with distilled water. Make sure everything's sterile. A lot of times, if you collect spores, like for instance, when I'm collecting oyster mushrooms, like I have the spores, I cut off the cap, or actually it's a shelf, but like I cut off the shelf and I have the gills sitting in a closed Ziploc bag. And that way, like other contaminants aren't getting into it. And so you just take it out after a while. The spores are there. You can add distilled water to it, put it in the syringe, and then you're good to go. Um, and then for the substrate, you want to make sure that's sterilized. A lot of people use pressure cookers to make sure you kill off like bacteria and other fungus could be in there too. Um, so you want to make sure everything's sterile, and then you can put it in a grow container. That's what this is. Typically, you want to grow mushrooms in a setting that's as dark as possible. They're not like plants; they don't photosynthesize, so um, pretty much like the darker the better. Uh, I don't know. Maybe I'm not an expert. I don't know. Like maybe some mushrooms prefer like a little bit of light, but for the most part, you do not want a lot of sunlight when you grow mushrooms, and you want them to breathe. That's why they have all these holes cut in here so the air can circulate. So that's that. And go down to the basement. That's Dundee. Hey, Dundee. Dundee, shake. Oh, good boy. Okay, another tangent. Let's go downstairs. No, you know what? Before I go down, I'll take this with me. Okay, so some of the mushrooms that I found, in case you're wondering what I grabbed, this is like a 3D printed model of a morel. It's one of the most prized edible mushrooms. I'm sure you've seen it before. They grow around here late April, early May. And if you do collect morels, there's also a group of species called false morels, and they're poisonous. If you eat them, you won't die or anything, but you'll probably get an upset stomach or diarrhea or something not that great. So, anyways, here's a little sample of some of the mushrooms you can find in our region. Uh, uh, Pretty much like Northeast North America. Um, a lot of times, the type of mushrooms you'll find will, it depends on where you're at in the country, especially like west of the Mississippi or east of the Mississippi. And then it also depends like your latitude. Like some mushrooms prefer more humid conditions. So you'll find different mushrooms growing in like let's say Florida as opposed to like Quebec. Um, so these are all mushrooms that I found in uh, Pennsylvania or New York State. So let's go over. Some of these are edible, some of them are non edible, some of them are poisonous. I don't have any um, very dangerous poisonous mushrooms. The two big ones that come to mind are the destroying angel and the deadly galerina. If you're curious about those, you can Google those. Those two, you do not want to you do not want to consume those. Like, in my mushroom website, like I talk about it, like they are very deadly. Like, and as far as I know, there's no antidote for either one. So yeah, stay clear of those. And that's another reason why it's vital to ID all your mushrooms. So anyways, here we have a birch polypore. Um, it's considered inedible, but some people use it for medicinal reasons. And let's see what we got here. This is an entoloma. This is edible. There's actually another mushroom that parasitizes it, and it creates an abortive entoloma, and those are a very prized edible. This is a chicken mushroom. It's a shelf mushroom, and surprisingly, it actually does taste just like chicken. If you put it in like chicken cacciatore or something, like you could probably fool some people. So this is a sulfur tuft, I believe. Yeah, sulfur tuft. This is poisonous. Not deadly to my knowledge. It might depend on like how much you consume, but this is one you want to stay away from. If you accidentally ate one, it probably wouldn't kill you. I don't recommend it, but so let's see what else we got here. This is a bear's head tooth. It's a relative to lion's mane, which they're both edible mushrooms, and they're both prized as medicinal mushrooms. You'll see a lot of supplements. They have lion's mane in them nowadays. And this is pretty much the same thing. Are the medicinal benefits, are they actually like real? Do they help you? I don't know. But as an edible mushroom, they taste great. This is a hen of the woods. This is an edible mushroom. They grow in clumps under oak trees. These are very delicious. This is a pear-shaped puff, or not a pear-shaped puffball. This is a pigskin puffball. This is poisonous, won't kill you, but you don't want to eat it. So this one is kind of interesting. It's, you call it like a little gem. That's what I call it. It has a relative that's actually hallucinogenic. They call it a laughing gem because, it's hallucinogenic and they'll make you crazy. This is not. So please don't call the police on me. This is not a psychedelic mushroom. But it does have a relative that is. And let's see what else are interesting. This is dryad saddle. This is another shelf mushroom. It's edible. It's kind of interesting. When it's fresh, it smells just like cucumbers. That's one way you can identify it. And I have eaten it, and it's not like a choice edible mushroom, but I think it doesn't taste bad. This one is also kind of interesting. It's called a tinder polypore. And if you go on my website and you go to Paul Stamets' link, he'll probably talk about it. But cavemen and like Paleolithic man, they actually used it as tinder, and they would actually have embers that would they would store like embers from fires in here to keep fire going. That was like back in the day, like when man didn't realize like how to create fire. They kind of just took it from like lightning strikes and whatnot. So these two are edible puffballs. If you see on the website on the homepage, I have a giant puffball. Those are really good. These are similar. They're similar in taste. They just grow way smaller than a giant puffball. Let's see what else we have that is kind of relevant. Uh, this one's interesting. This is a jack-o'-lantern mushroom, and the gills underneath, they actually glow in the dark to attract insects to help them to propagate their spores. This one is poisonous. Again, it's not um, like a highly toxic mushroom. Like if you ate a little bit of it, it probably wouldn't kill you. Again, don't recommend it. But anyways, so that's a poisonous mushroom. This is a hemlock varnish shelf. As you can see, it's very shiny. Some people use these medicinally. They're related to reishi mushrooms, which in Chinese herbal medicine, they're prized for their medicinal benefits. Um, I've tried to make tea out of this, and they say it's healthy for you. It's really rich in supposedly cancer-fighting polysaccharides. I thought it tasted like nasty as all get out, but some people like that as tea. These are morel mushrooms. These are all edible. Like I said before, they do have. There are false morels that look like them, and those are inedible. If you eat them, you'll get sick. But these are all edible. These are different species. So right here I have like 5 different species of morel mushrooms. And as far as this model goes, they can get this big. I'm pretty new to like morel hunting, but yeah, like some of them do get this big, and when they pop up in clusters, so you can get a lot of them. And I actually saw on the internet the other day there was a grocery store selling them for $80 a pound. I don't know where at, somewhere in the country, but so yeah, they're definitely a prized edible. Let's see what we got here. This is another interesting one. This one is inedible, but it's called a resinous polypore. And if you see it out in the wild, it'll actually get beads of resin dripping from it. Okay, here is another interesting one. I think I mentioned this on the website too. These are alcohol inkies, and if you eat them like in a short time frame of when you consume alcohol, you'll actually get sick. And I'm not sure like chemically how it works, but like the side effect, it sounds like it's pretty close to like what antabuse is, where you'll just like throw up nonstop and you'll just feel really sick. Um, let's see. This is some sort of oyster mushroom. This is a tree ear. This isn't what it really looks like in the wild. It's bigger. It's like a bigger like jelly. I don't know how to describe it. It's like a cup mushroom, but has the consistency of like jelly. And those are edible. They're not bad, but they're not really a prized edible. Like if you find them, you kind of just find them like haphazardly. People don't really go out like searching for them. This one is kind of interesting. It's false chaga. Um, False chaga, it's a lookalike to a mushroom called chaga. In chaga, it's probably the most prized mushroom as far as uh, like creating like a medicinal tea. Um, but that you can find online, and as far as I know, it's fairly expensive. This is an oyster mushroom. Like I said before, that's one that I did in the past, like propagating the mushrooms from the spores. This is one of the most common mushrooms. Uh, After a rain, they can come up like really fast, and they're very delicate and fleshy, so they don't last very long when they come out. This is a honey mushroom. This is a prized edible. A lot of times they'll come out in large groups. Um, but mushrooms like this, you always want to be careful for because they do have poisonous lookalikes. Um, they say people have confused these in the past. They've confused deadly gallerinas in the past for honey mushrooms, and people have actually died like thinking that they were actually getting these honey mushrooms. And I think that's it. Well, I apologize for the poor video quality. I kind of just threw this video together in like half an hour or so. But, well, anyways, I hope you learned something and have a good day. Bye.